And greetings, one and all. My name is Jason Davis, and this is Empower Volusia Commons. And so we're coming to you from an undisclosed hidden location somewhere in the western highlands of Volusia County, Florida, in an iron bunker. And we're guarded by 2 rabid Pomeranians and 1 crazy cat. And you can hear us, of course, on YouTube and Facebook, and we're out there on the cloud. We're everywhere you want to be, and we're at www.jasondavispodcast.com, and that's probably where you're listening to me from today. So, well, I thank everybody for their leniency and their well wishes. Yes, Mrs. the mother of Jason Davis has passed away back last month, and it was quite an interesting time in my life. We dealt with everything there, and thank goodness we had some pre-planning involved. And so thank you for your well wishes and your condolences. And but here's the really crazy thing: after everything kind of got settled and things moving along, and then I got sick. I got a cold or something, and I was hardly talking at all. That made the lovely Miss Sherry a little happy around the old iron bunker. And but with that said, we're back here, and we're up to snuff, and we're rocking and rolling, ready to go, and we're ready to bring to you another. Where are we at here? I got to get my stuff together. It's like I said, it's been a while since we've gotten into this thing, but here we go. We can now bring to you another exciting episode of the continuing saga of As the Stomach Turns. And in today's episode, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker in name only of the House of Representatives, with her band and entourage of clowns, have walked the articles of impeachment across the rotunda to the United States Senate. And what a fiasco. It was quite ridiculous, to be honest with you. The way they walked it over there, the pomp and circumstance of it all, it was just, you had to, I looked at this as they walk it over there, holding it like it's, I don't know, a golden chalice, and they walked it across the rotunda and laid it on the podium, and Adam Schiff began to speak. And, yeah, speak he did. He read the articles of impeachment, the 2 no crime articles. I mean, let's be realistic. When Andrew Jackson, when Richard Nixon, and when Bill Clinton were impeached, they had actual United States code, U.S. code, laws that were broken. This time, what did they have? We have obstruction of Congress, not a law, and we have abuse of power. There's no law involved there. So what we have, and they are actually made-up charges, which is, to be honest, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, yes, he's your president. The President of the United States did the same thing that every other president has done since 1776. Actually, 1778. He has done nothing different. Nothing at all. Every single president has asked for assistance from every other government in the world that we have a treaty with, of course, to say, look, you got this thing going on there. Can you look into that a little bit before you come, before we send you money? And he never said before we send you money. But can you look into that issue? Now, they're claiming, well, he was trying to dig up dirt on his political opponent. What political opponent? Joe Biden is not the candidate for presidency. Let me say that again so you understand. I'm using, for my liberal friends out there, I'm using short sentences and small words. Joe Biden is not the candidate for president on the Democratic ticket. He's losing in many, many polls. And as it sits right now, nobody knows. I mean, it could be Bernie Sanders. but which I find quite interesting because Bernie Sanders is an independent, but he's running on a Democrat ticket. That does not make sense. So basically what you're saying, instead of having a bicameral system, we have a tricameral system, which does not work, folks. You can't have three parties. It gets mayhem and craziness. We see it in England. So, unless, of course, the Democratic Party is doing the same thing now that they did in 2016, they're going to pad the ballot box so that their chosen one will win the nomination. And the media is pushing it so that Joe Biden is the candidate for presidency. If nobody wins a majority in all these little caucuses, as they call them. See, the Republicans are kind of funny. They say we're going to have a primary, and everybody votes in the nation. But the Democrats, they want to have this little caucus here. They want to have this little caucus here. They want to have this little caucus here. We got to have the Iowa caucus. We got to have the Idaho caucus, the California caucus, and they're all at different times. Now, why do they do that? Well, they do that because it's easier to manipulate the numbers. It's really easy. So they can choose who they want, who the leadership of the Democratic National Committee wants to be their candidate. And CNN a couple of days ago, today is, of course, January 17th, 2020. A couple of days ago on the after the debate, which was Wednesday, today is Friday, it was 2 days ago, yesterday morning, CNN was sitting there saying there was no true winner. There was nobody there that stood out. They were a bunch of wet dishcloths, pretty much. Nobody stood out. Well, why? Well, it's very simple. Because they can't speak directly to the American people and have the American people understand what they're talking about because they're talking about such crazy, weird stuff.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
So what's going to happen is their caucuses are going to go here and there and everywhere around the country, and they're going to have all these little caucuses. And then once they have their caucuses, the DNC is going to sit back and say, all right, we're going to bring all these numbers in, and we're going to say, oh, no, we don't have an outstanding winner. So we're going to choose them. That's what they're going to do. They're going to choose who they think can win an election against Donald J. Trump. And that's all that's all they're concerned about. Folks, they're not concerned about you. They're not concerned about what you want. They're not concerned about what you need. They do not give and I'm going to say this bad word, they don't give a damn about you. There's only one thing that they care about. One thing only. And that is true. Because, see, we Cory Booker dropped out. Kamala Harris, she's dropped out. All these people have dropped out. Now, I got one big question here. In local elections here in the glorious Sunshine State, the greatest paradise ever to live in, if you do not win an election, if you do not win in a primary, every dollar you raised has to be donated to a nonprofit organization. That is in the state election laws, and that's the way it is. When I ran for office, even after I won, I had to donate excess money to nonprofit organizations. When I did not win, I had to donate all that money that I raised to a nonprofit organization. These guys, they've raised literally millions and hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on these campaigns. All of them. Probably closer to $1 billion. And when these people drop out, what do? Well, we're closing up. We're going to suspend our campaign. Okay. Thanks for playing. See you later. Folks, they're taking your money and they're going off and doing whatever they wanted to do, and they don't have to donate that money anywhere. They're keeping your money. When you donated to Cory Booker, and now that Cory Booker is gone, What happens? Well, this is what happens to your money.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's right. It's gone. It's nowhere around. So anyways, and they had to quit because they had to withdraw because they're going to be in the Senate now, starting Tuesday of next week from noon until complete for the next X days. It could be 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 10 days. See, the House has 24 hours on Tuesday from noon on Tuesday till noon on Wednesday. That's 24 hours to produce their case. Then the President of the United States, his legal team, they get up there and then they say, we're going to now produce our case. And they have 24 hours to produce their case. So there's 2 days. Now, 16 hours. 16 hours. The senators can write questions down. See, senators can't say anything. They have to sit there very quietly, like a jury, because they are a jury. And they have to wait. And then after everybody is done, the next day, for 2 days, they will have time to write questions and hand it over. And these questions will be asked of the House of Representatives and the President's lawyers. Then after that, they will then go into discussion and debate, and they will decide whether or not they want to call witnesses. Do we want to call witnesses? Witnesses to what? There's 3 people on that call, other than the presidents, the 2 presidents. I think there was only 3 people on that call that listened in. So anyway, there's your fact witnesses. Anybody else that comes in there is not a fact witness, and I hope the judge says, not calling him. We're not listening to this. And we now have the Supreme Court justice, who the head justice. He's now looking over this case. He may say you can't bring this article. You can't say anything about this, or this. I mean, he could actually shut them down, the House, because all their evidence is hearsay, and you can't submit hearsay in a court of law. And I hope he treats it like a court of law. But anyways, so there we go with that. Then they get to debate whether or not they're going to call witnesses, and then they can debate whether or not they want to exonerate the president. See, you're either guilty and removed or exonerated. That's the way it works. And you have to have 2/3 of the vote of the Senate to say he's guilty and remove him from office. They don't have it. So this is really nothing more than just a bunch of BS. And, the Democrats are just trying to destroy Trump once again.
There you go again.
That's it. Here, let me just say something. They've been trying this now ever since he was elected. Here, this is a little soundbite from about a month ago, December. I don't have the source available, but it was on the internet. And this is Nancy Pelosi talking in an interview. And just listen.
One of the biggest criticisms of the process has been the speed at which the House Democrats are moving. But seriously though,
It's been going on for 22 months, okay? 2.5 years, actually.
There has been some criticism, though, I will say, about whether or not you should move forward before the end of the year or wait for the courts. Why do you think now is the time to move?
Well, I think we're not moving with speed. This, was it 2.5 years ago that they initiated the Mueller investigation?
See, for 2.5 years, they've been trying to remove a duly elected president from position. I mean, we started with the Russian collusion and the Mueller report, and then, have been, now we got, they're just grasping at straws, which is kind of funny because the Democrats have outlawed straws in cities around the country, so they're really grasping at air. Because, of course, we know Democrats, they don't support having a straw. So, little humor there, folks. But anyways, that brings up another little question here. 2.5 years, and that was back in December. That was before the articles were voted on. 2.5 years, folks. They have been trying to impeach a president. We remember, what's her name out of California? Impeach 45 since day one. since the day that Tlaib was sworn into office. We're going to impeach the MFer. This has been the chant. This has been the call. This has been, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. I mean, what they're doing, this is really, let's be realistic. This has been the cry about what's going on. Because the Democrats cannot accept the election of 2016 because one of their people, a politician, was not elected. We have a businessman running the country. Holy cow, and look what's getting done. He's not part of the process. But anyways, and also that little soundbite there brought out something else. We can't wait for the court, she said. You remember that? You heard that, right? We can't wait for the courts. We have to do this now. See, that goes to part of the obstruction of Congress. See, when Adam Schiff was reading his ridiculous articles of impeachment that he wrote from a whistleblower who he knows personally, who he's talked to and directed, and I can tell you, I know in my heart of hearts that this guy, Schiff, knows he apparently does know who the whistleblower is because he won't let anybody tell. They won't let anybody, but that whistleblower will come out as number one witness. But anyways, no, he's, they can't wait for the courts. Well, that's what Donald Trump said. So there's no obstruction of Congress. And there's the admission from Nancy Pelosi right there that he said, no, I'm not turning over all these documents. You're on a fishing expedition. I'm going to send it to the courts so they can, and this is the way it goes. I'm going to ask the court, the third leg of our government. We have a legislative, executive, judiciary, and the Judiciary Committee, the judiciary branch of the government. They are the ones that decide which, who gets what when there's a disagreement between legislative and executive. And so Donald J. Trump was actually following the Constitution to the letter when he went to the judiciary, the Supreme Court, and said, look, I need you to hear this. This is what they want, and I think this is irrelevant to their discussions. And the court said, fine, we'll put it on the docket. Well, it's not Donald J. Trump's, the president's, fault that the Supreme Court is backlogged because, for whatever reason, they're backlogged. So they would have to wait. And he said, fine, we will wait. Pelosi said, no, we're not. Adam Schiff said, no. Nadler, all the Democrats said, no, we're not waiting. They're violating the Constitution. And then they throw on this obstruction of Congress charge, which is ridiculous because he has gone through the process to get it heard before a court as to whether or not they can get his financial reports. What does his financials have to do with this impeachment? Nothing. What does Eric Trump's financials or his dealings have to do with anything that they're talking about? Nothing. They're on what's called a fishing expedition, and they're trying to bait the American people into doing what they need to do or what they want to do. So, anyways, here we go, folks. The Senate now has the articles of impeachment.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Because Donald J. Trump is ready to fight. That guy just loves a good battle. And to be honest with you, I think it's a waste of our time. It's a waste of our taxpayer money to do this. And a lot of people believe it. Democrats, Republicans, Independent, Greenpeace, all you people out there understand that this is going to cost millions and millions of dollars. It's cost them $30-40 million to do the Mueller report. It's cost them another $30-40 million to do this impeachment inquiry. See, they weren't even impeachment hearings. They were inquiries. And now it's going to cost another couple of million, maybe $20-30 million to do the Senate hearing, the Senate trial. It's going to cost millions of dollars because nothing up there is cheap in D.C. Nothing. You want to buy a cup of coffee, it's $8 for a cup of coffee. I mean, it's just a cup of coffee, folks. Hot water through coffee grounds. $8. How do I know? I've been there. I've been, down here in Florida, I can take the better half, the lovely Miss Sherry, out to a nice dinner in a nice restaurant, maybe pay $40 for it. Up in D.C., take your same restaurant, you take your lovely better half out for dinner, same meal, $120. And I know this. I know this how? I've been there. I've been in D.C. on government business, and I've had to eat, and I saw the prices. I was just sitting here shaking my head going, you've got to be kidding. Wow. So, yes, anyways. So, here we go with Tuesday. There's not much more I can say about that.
Promises stupid as a stupid does.
And there we go. So what we got, folks, is here you go. The truth of the matter is...
You can't handle the truth!
Yeah, I'm hoping you can, but the truth of the matter is very simply this. Donald J. Trump will not be convicted of impeachment. The impeachment is nothing more than having charges laid against you, just like if you were doing a speeding or you did something and broke the law, they read the charges. That's what impeachment is. You're being charged with a crime. That's all it is. Now you go to your trial. Having to have 2/3 of the Senate to convict him, not going to happen. Not going to happen at all. It would take over half of the Republicans there to impeach him and to have him removed from office. Let's be realistic. Bill Clinton had federal charges, real crimes, and he was impeached, and he was not removed from office. And he's done the same thing that Donald J. Trump did, withhold the money. He has, 60, 90 days to release the funds, but he didn't want to release the funds at that moment. And plus, he gets busy, and things, I'm sure, slip his mind, until somebody says, hey, you're going to release the money? Oh, yeah, go ahead and release the money. I understand. He's human. He does that. He gets out there, and he's doing all kinds of other great things. He is building a wall. He is making trade deals. He just made a trade deal with China. Stock market. We have the best economy ever because of Donald J. Trump. The best economy ever because of Donald J. Trump. And anybody that can't see that, well, your head is in the sand or it's up your butt. Sorry, folks, but that's just the way it is. So with that, all I can say is, when we get up here to this impeachment trial and they go through their 2 days, I just hope that the Senate when they start their deliberations and they vote, I hope they start to use just a little common sense.